I always thought time to be akin to military history. Something to learn, something to compare against. But now I know better. Time isn't history, it's strategy. A field to be won and controlled. An asset to either charge or siege. The victors will control the ebb and flow of time. They will bend it in and around their agenda. If that isn't strategy, I don't know what is. I intend to see that time fits into a scabbard of Solamnic design, not to be bastardized by some undead pretender. For I see not its application in the victories ahead. I see the defeats of the past and the chance to right them. I see a friend smiling instead of turning to ash. I see a father riding a dragon and telling the tale around a campfire. But I believe it all starts in one spot, one moment where everything grew dark. Dark as a winter's night. And that is what I see brightest of all. I see a knight defending a tower with nothing but blade, oath, and measure. A knight fighting a blue dragon and its rider. A knight named Brightblade. But this time, I see myself at his shoulder. For tomorrow. For every tomorrow.
What do I hope to become? The past, present, and future are all not set in stone. The pages in the story of our lives are left completely open. Our life, our blood, our bond, as magic moves us. I can move through time, and I seek to master it. I cannot know what I will become in the future, for I am constantly, in all times. When the tides of time do take me, I hope only that I leave more than a ripple, that I am a part of the growth and not the death.
Time. Huh. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. The prolonging of suffering. Dark and selfish deeds were the fruit of a blighted mind. Ambitious roots trenched in me the desire for greatness at any price. And that is a price I pay every moment of every day. An agony tended to like a garden. Nursed like a fresh calf for what? To end? To die in misery? to perish as a failed wretch whose hands have wrought his own torment. I have gazed upon the void. The void has gazed back. It has whispered to me like a siren on the blood sea. End it. It whispers seductively, like a slow morning breeze. End yourself and be free from pain. No. No! I will die when I choose. I choose life. I choose pain. No construct, past, present, future, in this world or another, will take that away from me.
I'm tired of time taking what it wants from me. Of it moving forward as I try to cling on to what I hold dear. My loved ones, my memories of them, my chance to redeem myself. If only I could go back. Tell Kiernan to stay with us. To not have argued with Hawthorne. To not sink that dagger into Learly's chest. But time marches forward without me. And after feeling time fall away like grave dirt through my fingers, after coming so close to death's door, I realize just how short my time is here. I'm not ready for my clocks to stop yet. My time is just beginning.
Time is an illusion. Nothing ever truly ends, and nothing ever truly begins. Everything that we have ever done, and everything that we are going to do, we will do again and again and again and again. Crimson waves crash roughly up against the rocky beach of a tiny island covered in a dark, roiling fog. Sitting there on a beach, on a boulder, is a figure who once named himself Hawthorne, after the flower. Hawthorne is staring longingly into the flashing and crashing of the maelstrom, an endlessly raging storm of green lightning at the center of the blood sea. Sitting beside Hawthorne, there on the beach, with her back turned away from the maelstrom, is Avrin. Avrin, you don't remember this place. You've not been here before that you can recall. And everything about this island feels just a little surreal to you. For instance, though the waves crash up onto the beach and salt water sprays your face, you're still entirely dry somehow. And after a moment of sitting there, Hawthorne looks away from the maelstrom and smiles sadly at you.
Hawthorne. This is just a dream, isn't it?
Something between a dream and real life. Just a dream makes dreams seem so small. Avrin, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I never had the chance to say goodbye back then.
I tried to find you. I went to a rooftop.
I went there too. He came and he took me. I tried to get away. I tried to call for you. But I suppose you couldn't hear me.
I should have been there.
It's all right. It's not your fault. I don't blame you. What was your life like after that?
Well, the family moved on. I don't think I ever did. And then Father Hawk asked me to do something that I'm still trying to fix.
Well, that sounds like him. He always had a way of getting people to do things they didn't want to do. Are you happy? Have you been happy?
I don't know. Mirrorly's back. And I'm happy that she's here. But I just feel lost.
There's a large crash of a wave and splashes up high. You can feel it again spraying your face, though you don't get wet. He turns away from you and stares off in the direction that you're faced away from. I've spent so long here on this beach, staring into the void, feeling lost, thinking I might never have a chance to speak to you again, even if it's just in a dream. I'm sorry things have been hard. Did you ever find love?
No. I know you said that we shouldn't be afraid of being attached. Otherwise, you end up alone. But I ended up alone somehow, anyways.
Well, I've lived a long time, Avrin. And I think that is just the saddest thing that I've ever heard. Do you know where we are? I suppose you probably don't.
No.
I'm looking now, and I don't suggest you do as I am doing. At the heart of what used to be Istar, something happened. Fire from the sky. I remember it all. In the corner of my mind, history unfolding, a continent sinking into the sea. Now there's just the storm, the maelstrom. It never stops. They say to look into it, to watch its fire, invites madness. But here with you right now, I don't think I felt so sane in my entire life.
What do you see?
A future. A future for me and for the people I love, people I care about, for the first time in a long time. Avrin, you feel something soft on your shoulder. It's a tap, and then another tap.
Slowly look over.
And you look up to a figure, a silhouette, not able quite to make out their features yet because of the flash of green lightning from the maelstrom off behind you. But as you do, we're going to cut away from the scene. We are going to return to the town of Har Thalen. Somewhat the same as we remember it, and somewhat different because of the meddling of wizards and the changing, shifting sands of time. Sir Riordan and Honoria. It's twilight in the shanty town of Har Thalen, the poor quarter of this town. And as you know, in Nightland, the days take up half of the day, and the twilights, the purple-red hue of what happens just after sunset, takes up another third of the day. And then the rest of the day is dark and stormy night. You are in the middle of a long twilight, and you've been moving through the city, the town, looking for several of your companions who have gone missing in one point or another. And just as before, unchanged, as far as we know, from what we recall, you were looking for Avrin, and you saw her moving off through the back streets, the back alleyways. Honoria, you had avoided an ambush by some sort of strange, oozing creature that came at you in an alleyway using your time magic. All of that occurred just as you remember it. The only difference is it's a little later in the day. It's not afternoon anymore. Night is coming. And right now, you are following Avrin through the back streets, and you see her turn with a well-dressed figure who has a folded umbrella swinging back and forth from their arm. That figure turns a corner and disappears just a couple of blocks ahead of you.
We can't follow through the skies. We're being too closely watched. Don't go down that alley.
Why? Lady Averin is down there. She is who I aim to collect.
If you walk down that alley, something will emerge from that casket and consume you.
What are you talking about?
I do not have time to go through this again.
No, you're right. Something. Where should we go?
This way. Nice point around the side of the building that we just started walking from, so we can kind of hopefully predict their path and go around.
Sure. Yeah, you kind of want to use the opposite direction of the back streets and end up at the same place.
That's my hope.
Sure. Roll me a, let's call it a navigate.
Survival?
Survival. Sorry.
That is a
Always mix it.
2 for me.
Sir Riordan, what are you doing? You see her wandering off, and like you actually get the idea that maybe she's going off in an entirely wrong direction.
Wait. Let me try. What was that? Navigate?
You can give me a survival or a perception, even.
Oh, yes,
Since she's at least found one incorrect route.
I don't suppose my observant would help me in this at all.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because then my passive investigation could be brought up to an 18 total. My thought process in this would be, since we're hunting somebody down and looking for them and using predictive thought pattern, I hate to you make this analogy, but Sherlock, as he's trying to figure out which direction down the streets to go.
Right, yeah, there's only so many streets. So you're Sherlocking the situation. Let's see here. Let's see. Greg, did you roll?
Yes, I had a strong 6.
You were in the flashback episode, I think, instead of our...
Oh, that's what's going on. That makes sense.
He's still in the past, guys. We're living
I'm
in the
still in the
future.
past. So yeah, we'll say between the two of you, you kind of catch Honoria as she's going off in the wrong direction, and you kind of point her in the right direction, and then Honoria, you connect the dots and you find your way through a couple of streets. But both of you roll me just a flat perception check as you are turning into the corner and into the back alleyway.
I'm still in my mind, Palace.
How are double nat 1s? Is that good? Can I ever see again?
No. No. So you do see though Averin and the figure again a few blocks away for a moment, crossing a small back alley intersection, and then they're gone.
This is becoming tedious, and we don't have time for this. Elang, and I cast Fly on myself, and I'm going to try to fly up, but along the side of the building, almost to make it look like I'm climbing instead of flying, because I don't want to be hated for my magic too hardly, and see if I can get more of a bird's eye view.
You want to fly but make it look like you're just really good at climbing. Give me a stealth check here.
24.
All right. So, and Sir Riordan, what are you doing as you watch her start to scale up this building? Because to you, it just looks like she's really good at climbing.
Okay, well, yes, but he's going to keep an eye on her because he's obviously, with double nat 1s, lost Lady Averin. So he's going to watch Honoria and use her as a guide.
Honoria, I'll say this as you kind of scale up to the top of the building using your fly spell, you will notice that there's, as you look back down, there's several figures in the street. One of them, a poor-looking urchin, actually has a pan with jingling change in it. And then the other, an older man who looks like maybe a merchant of some sort, somebody with a little bit more money. They're both looking into the alley at Sir Riordan.
Do I see Avrin?
You do, yeah. As you, if you get up to the top, you're able to see her as she again winds her way back, and you can see that there's a dead end at the end of the street she's going to, and there's some sort of ramshackle, looks like a barely standing hut there at the end of the street. And she's moving arm in arm with the figure.
I think I know where they're going. That way. And I climb back down with my spell, and I will dispel the fly on me, as I don't think there's any more need for it. And I will turn and I will glare at the two people that were watching my companion, and I'm going to stare at them for that just long enough where you should feel uncomfortable for somebody staring at you that long, and then begin taking my staff and walking in the direction that I believe we're going.
All right, yeah. Roll me two things. I want you to roll me insight, and then roll me, you can also roll me an intimidation.
I have a 19 on my insight and a 16 on my intimidation.
It's pretty good. As you stare at these two individuals who have both kind of come around the corner, you'll notice that the old man, the dressed like a merchant, there's a little bit of blood on his face. But when you stare hard at them, they both turn away and push back into the crowd.
We should make haste, I say, picking up my pace by like a fraction of an inch. Not really truly making haste.
Yes, to Lady Avrin.
Your mind seems elsewhere.
Not picking up on a lot of things today. Damn these old eyes.
Not so old. Not so young either, I say, smirking to myself.
It's touche. Let's find Lady Avrin.
As you're moving quickly down the street, are you weapons in hand? How intense are you as you go off looking?
I am trying to be... I am much closer to Riordan than I normally would be. I am much more withdrawn. I'm not being as outspoken. I have my quarterstaff in my hand, and my hand is hovering near my spellbook on my side, but is not actually touching it.
Absolution is in its sheath along his back. He only pulls his blade out when he intends to use it. And as of right now, he doesn't have a target. So he is just striding with purpose in the direction that Honoria indicated.
And you find, as you're crossing, moving back towards the hut, and that final long stretch of side street, that many of the houses on this street that do dead end have been torn down. What's left looks like the ruins that are left after a tornado or a strong storm, where columns collapse, roofs fall in on each other, and nobody bothers to clean up what's been left. There's no eyes on you that you see on this street, not at first. There doesn't seem to be anybody living on this street. The only building that still stands is the hut at the end. But as you're approaching, roll me one more perception check.
Let me redeem myself, please. 21!
Dust out of your eye.
As you're moving down the dead-end street, you do see Sir Riordan poking up out of the rubble on either side, a few small figures One looks like just a small woman, a mother maybe, because she's clasping two children to her side. And on the other side of the street, several other figures. One, a large, brutish-looking man. They're all sort of rising up but staying low, and they're watching you as you move down the street.
He will lock eyes with the brutish man who's in the shadows as he strides in the same direction of his intended purpose, just staring as he walks in the direction. It's not intimidation per se, as it is recognition that he sees him in the shadows.
He kind of keeps his head low and he keeps his eyes on you. Roll me an insight check.
Ooh, the good times roll. Strong 5.
He keeps his eyes on you for a while, but right as you reach the plane where you're going to cross him, you would actually have to look over your shoulder to keep that lock on him. He averts his gaze and looks away. And as he does, so too do the others on the street. And they all go back to what seems like, I don't know, some private business that each of them has in turn.
He thinks no more of them, other than they are potential foes at his back, because his intent is Averin. He'll check and make sure Honoria is okay as he's moving, but other than that, straight on till morning.
You are moving towards the hut. You can see the door to the hut is barely closed. It's kind of just slightly off its hinge. You'd have to pull it open.
I'll turn and watch down the alley while he makes work of the door.
He reaches for the door, but then looks back over at Honoria. Does anything spring out of this portal and kill me?
I turn as we're back to back, and I turn my head over my shoulder and I half smile. Not today. And I look back down the alley again, peering.
Then he pulls the door open, not with a display of force, but with a display of authority of somebody that bears a title of nobility can only do, as he sweeps it open and ducks in without asking invitation. Lady Averin! As he crosses the threshold.
As you swing the door open and step in and call loud, and Honoria looks behind the empty street, which remains empty, we are going to cut away from this scene and move elsewhere in the town of Harthalen. Rookone, you find yourself in a dark, tiny cell trapped behind black iron bars. This small prison can barely contain a creature of your size. The walls around you are stone, and at the top of one wall is a small window in the shape of a half moon. Far too small for you to fit your head through, even if the window wasn't barred, which it is. Other than that, you can see the red and purple twilight spilling in from outside through that narrow window. And there is a bit of light coming from down the hall within this prison as well. Otherwise, it's very dark. There is enough light for you to see that this isn't the only cell here. There are at least 6, 3 rooms on either side of what's a very small underground prison.
Oh my God. What did I drink? Oh, my head is spinning. Oh, where am I? Hello?
You hear a voice from the cell next to you, the one that you can't see into because it's right next to you. You're down here with the lost ones, you are.
Well, the lost ones. What?
What did you do to get in here?
I was drinking, and now I'm here.
How did you get your head to look like that? The horns, the fur.
Excuse me?
How did you make your head to look like that? Is it some sort of elaborate costume?
Where do you... I'm a minotaur. Are you...
Really?
Have you never seen one?
No. No, I've heard the name, but I thought minotaurs were just beasts.
Do I sound like a beast?
Sort of. A little bit. You hear a rap, rap, rap on the cell opposite of yours. This is the one that you can look directly into. And another voice. Don't pay any attention to her. She's insane. She's been rambling since before you woke up. How are you feeling, Rokon?
It would be a lot better if I wasn't in this tiny room.
Me too. Hopefully we can fix that soon. And you can see now through the slight bit of light given by the window behind you and the window behind this woman that this is a young woman that you just recently met. She has a pale, sickly green face, veiny, like her veins are almost popping out of her face. She wears a dirty, tattered dress that it has the designs of intertwining thorny branches bearing red, white, and black roses. It was probably a very pretty dress at one point, but she's obviously seen a lot of time outdoors. This is literally someone that you just met about a day ago, a little over a day ago now.
How did you end up here?
I guess they don't like outsiders here in Harthalen.
All right, next question. Assuming that the insane lady is out of this, how are we going to get out?
Well, I don't know. They haven't spoken to me since they locked me in here, and you've been asleep. But maybe now that we're both here, we can figure something out together.
How many people do you see walking in and out of this room?
Just the guards, the 2 guards that brought you down here, but there's a couple of others here. I don't think any of them are all right, if you catch my drift.
I don't catch your drift. What's...
I can
right?
hear you, you know.
Oh.
We've been down here for a long time. You just wait until they bring you for treatment. You'll not like it either.
Treatment? What do they treat you for?
Well, we're sick, of course. That's why we're at the hospital.
This is a hospital?
Well, that's what they call a hospital. There's rooms upstairs with doctors.
Well, when's the last time a guard came down?
When they brought you down and I got a look at your face. It's a magnificent face.
Don't get all wrapped up in this. How long ago was that?
Oh, I don't know. Time's sort of meaningless down here.
How about you write a poem about it? How long have we been down here?
I don't know. But hey, when they take you out of your cell and they pull you past my cell to treat you, will you stick your head close enough that I could feel your face?
I There's very few times in my life where I've ever felt uncomfortable. This is one of those times. I do not think I'm going to do that. I don't know. I guess we'll see where the night takes us, or the day, depending on how long we're in here.
Well, I guess we're not going to be friends then. She goes quiet.
So the door it's all black. It's all dark iron, ceiling, door, walls. And how much is it?
The walls themselves are stone, but there's like a door to the hall that connects all of the cells together. And that doorway, that entryway is iron.
And there's just like a window. There's no like you can't reach or out. It's not like a typical prison.
Imagine you get the sense that if you were to look up through this window, which is kind of at the top of this room, you could see the ground outside. You get the feeling that you're beneath ground a little ways. But it is very stereotypical for a prison, not maybe for a hospital, but for a prison.
And how many like square feet is like the cell that I'm in right now?
Your horns are scraping against the top unless you bend your head down. And if you were to press your wingspan outward, you wouldn't be able to stretch your arms out all the way. It's a very small room.
And then, but from the door to the wall, what's the...
Oh, right. It's just long enough that you can almost lay down. There's a little straw, what passes for a bed. It's not elevated at all. But with your height, you would have to like bend your knees just to be able to lay down in this room.
Okay. I'm going to kind of brace myself against the walls and then try to test my might on the door to shove to see how the joints are. Just to measure my likelihood of potentially breaking out.
All right. Yeah, roll me, I guess, an investigation check.
Oh, sweet. There's a 2. That's a very charismatic 2.
Very charismatic, too. You can... I mean, they feel like iron bars. This feels like an effective prison. Could you break out? You would have to really try to see.
Well, I'm gonna really try and see. With totem, spirit, bear, I have advantage on strength checks to bend and break stuff.
Excellent. Go ahead and roll me an athletics check then.
All right.
And are you trying to push this door out? Or are you trying to actually bend the bars so you can kind of maybe squeeze through somehow?
First one's going to be to test like the joints of the door to see if I can knock the whole door off.
Okay.
Double 18s.
You slam into the door, and though you don't break anything on yourself or on the door, you get the sense that this is a sturdy cell door. It's going to take some effort. Probably a couple of very strong people would have a trouble breaking this. Maybe if you had enough time, or if you keep trying.
And now I want to get up and try to bend the bars on the window.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and give me another athletics check, and you have advantage again because of your bear totem. You are able to bend the bars. They're starting to bend. You can feel the stone crack at the base of this bar. You can hear the creak of the iron as it's actually starting to work with you instead of against you. And then just as you get in enough where like you can almost get your face through, not your entire head, you hear a voice behind you and a jingling of keys. Please don't do that. There's no need for that.
Why? You locked me in here. I didn't agree to it.
You see behind you the armored plate-mailed form of Sir Gerhardt, the knight commander of the town, a man that you had met the previous day when he came to investigate you with several of his politskera, several of his guards in your tavern room, in your inn room. And he's jingling a set of keys, and he says, "I'm going to let you out. You are a terrible drunk. We only put you in there for your own good so you didn't hurt yourself or hurt someone else."
Oh, well then, sorry about the bars. And can I do an athletics check to try to bend them back into place?
Yes, please do. Please do. And you have advantage on this too.
22.
Just as easily as you bent them out, you bend them back, and he kind of watches you. You see like a small smile at the corner of his mouth, and he says, "Well, I won't lie. I do appreciate you doing that. Please, if I let you out and return to you your things, are you going to be a problem?"
I shouldn't be. Did I pee on anything?
Yes. And listen, you are new here, and we certainly have plenty of drunks in this town. They all get the same treatment. They all get the cell for the night until they're feeling better. They all get one warning, and this is your one warning. I highly recommend that when you go to the tavern at night, you don't go alone. You always want a friend to look out after you, to make sure you're not getting into trouble. I don't know what you were thinking going off on your own.
But then why does the drink taste so good?
That's not an answer. Here, come on. The jingle of the keys, he shoves one into the lock and he opens the cell door. He steps away from it, and you see that he's heavily armed, but his sword is not drawn. There are two guards at the end of the hall with some stairs leading upwards, and their swords are also not drawn, but their hands are on the hilt of those swords. They look a lot more worried about you than he does.
What is this whole thing down here just a drunk tank, or what do you keep?
No. Most of these people are dangerous criminals, but we had an empty cell, and so you stayed the night here.
What did she do? I point at Learly.
Learly's got her face halfway through her bar. She's kind of watching you too closely. She's a very roll me an insight check, Rookone.
Okay. 18.
She's trying to look innocent and coy, but you've seen people act like this before. You get the feeling that she's playing a part here. She's putting on an act. Doesn't matter what she did. Doesn't concern you. I know you came to town with her. If you don't mind, I'd actually like to ask you some questions about her on our way out.
You could ask me questions right here.
He looks over to Learly, who averts, like she casts her gaze down to the dirt floor. I'd rather not do it in front of her or the others, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Also, the creepy lady wanted to pet my face. Would you advise for or against?
Do not do that.
Okay.
She will claw at your eyes or do something. Most of these people down here, they are just looking for any means possible to inflict pain on themselves or others. That's why they're here.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. In my studies, I have found the same.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah, after you.
No, after you. I insist.
After me, then.
This way.
Do you have any water? I'm really thirsty.
Yes, we'll get you some water on the way out.
Okay.
You start off, and Learly comes to the bars again, and she rattles the bars a little bit, and she looks at you now and kind of gestures like she gives you a, are you going to do something kind of look.
And then I turn around like real quickly, and then I'll toss her a wink.
Roll me a sleight of hand check.
Well, I don't know. To turn at that angle is pretty athletic. You sure I can't?
No, you don't get a strength bonus on your wink.
11.
All right, no, okay. 11's you're kind of subtle about it, but as you start off back down the hall, you do see Gerhard give one more look over his shoulder to Leerly, and she disappears back further into the cell.
Oh, yeah, well, up here we go. Walking.
You hear a rattle of the bars next to you as you pass by. Do you look into any of the other cells as you pass, or you just keep your head straight?
Oh, shit, yeah, I'm looking at everything. I'm remembering every detail that I can remember.
So you see the woman who you assume was the woman who spoke to you. She's very gaunt with dark circles under her eyes. Most of her hair has fallen out. She's missing a hand, but her other hand, the nails are long and yellow, like they haven't been cut in a very long time. And as you step past that cell, she does step very quickly to the edge of her cell and reach out her hand for you as much as she can.
Oh, God, you were right. Oh, that's disgusting.
Do you step away? Do you do anything to avoid it? It's not a wide room. She can reach you.
Yeah, I'll do one of these.
All right, roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
I'll give you advantage since he had warned you, since you'd asked about her.
19.
You're able to step and lean away, and after she can't reach you for a couple of seconds, you hear her hiss, and then she slinks back and puts her back up against the wall. But she keeps her eyes on you as you pass by.
Oh, boy. Oh, that is creepy.
You do see a couple of other people down here in the final row of cells. There's a large, brutish-looking man. He's got broad shoulders, tattoos on his chest. Most of his tunic has been torn away, tattoos on his face. There's something strange about the shape of his face. And as you pass by, he smiles at you, and it's then that you realize with his open mouth smile that the man has no teeth. He has no tongue. His face is sunken inward because of this. But he doesn't approach. He stays seated on what passes for a cot here.
All right, moving forward.
The final man who is against the bars, he's not reaching out, but he's pleading with you with his eyes, whispers beneath his breath. This is an old, haggard man with a bent spine, wearing a long, it looks like a dress, his tunic, like a sackcloth. He says, "Please tell them, when you go up there, tell them to let in the light. Tell them to let in the light."
Oh, that's easy enough. I can do that. What's he in here for?
Keep going, please. You can't speak to them. You can't listen to what they say. They are mad. Listening to madness invites madness. Have you never heard that?
That is not a saying where I come from.
Well, many people go mad in Harthalen, unfortunately, and that we have to deal with them as we may. Now, continue on. I'd like to get you processed and out of here.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
You head up the stairs, and he begins to lead you through the hospital. There are a number of rooms that are closed off. There's curtains, white sheets that are covered. People are being tended to, and you can hear the murmuring of a few healers, doctors, as they're asking standard questions. When did you start coughing? How much have you eaten and what have you eaten recently? And very quietly and whispered, this room in this building is actually pristine on this ground level, whereas below is dirty. But he doesn't let you stray too far if you stop and look. He will stop at a point and two of his guards approach you and offer you weapons, your equipment, the things that they had took the night before. I believe this is yours.
It is. Thanks for taking good care of it. Yeah, maybe not get so drunk next time. Am I right, fellas?
One of them grunts at you, but he cracks a small smile and he says, "Please do. I would rather not have you in my cell, taking up an entire cell all by yourself. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to let you go with some water, but will you tell me anything about that girl down there? How well do you know her?"
She helped one of my friends. From what I know, which is not much, she's good. She's a good girl.
What's her name? She won't speak to me.
It's Learly.
Learly. It's a funny name. Do you have any reason to believe that she is here working for an outside entity, or that she is employed to be here?
I don't know. She knew someone I came here with. I could.
Who?
Somebody. I'm just a little weary because you might throw us all in prison, so you have to understand where I'm coming from.
Listen, Rukon was your name, yes?
How'd you know that?
Because you told me yesterday.
I did. Yeah, well, cool. Yes, that is my name.
Rukon, I would very much prefer to not have you and your friends in my cells or even in my town for longer than necessary. I would like you to leave, but I would like you to leave on your own accord. So, to that end, I'm going to have to ask you which one of your friends might be able to help me figure out what the girl wants, why she's here. Once I know that, well, you're free to go.
And then what about Learly?
Well, that depends on how cooperative she is. She has broken our laws, and I'm afraid it's a rather serious matter.
Oh, yeah. What law did she break? Are you one of those towns that don't let people pick flowers?
No, picking flowers is fine. She, while I cannot go into great detail, tried to steal something very valuable from our town.
Huh.
And there was no mistake. This isn't a picking flowers situation. She knew what she was doing. So, again, I have to ask you, who can I speak to? Who can tell me more about the girl?
I could tell you her name, but I think it'd be better if you just followed me and we could find her ourselves.
Very well. I'm happy to do so. Guards, please go gather him some water, and we'll be on our way. The guards do go off, and he leads you towards the front of the hospital here. Roll me a perception check.
All right. 11.
Perfect. You do see behind a half-open curtain, it's not entirely drawn, right near the front of the building. Before you reach it, you're passing by a man laying down, groaning in pain. You see a figure kneeling before him, their back turned to you. The figure is dressed in a white cloak, some sort of covering, white hat, brimmed hat on its head, brown briefcase set out beside it, open. And he seems to be kneeling over the figure's legs. You can't make out anything else about the man because his back is to you.
Who's that guy?
Oh, he's one of our many healers here at the hospital. It's one of the most treasured professions in Harthalen.
Do you guys have a lot of diseases here?
Unfortunately, so, yes.
Care to share what kind?
Well, the usual. Every once in a while, every few years, there's some sort of plague that comes through. Beyond that, most of it's weather-based. In the cold seasons, people die.
Yeah.
Most of all, the disease of madness.
How do you treat madness?
I'm not an expert. I just try to keep the peace. The alienists here, they treat the madness, and I've heard stories, but I prefer not to think of it myself, and neither should you. Please, let us continue.
Yeah. Let's find my friends.
And you step out into the street, and when you leave the building behind, this is the hospital at the end of town. It's up on a hill. There's a long path back down towards the shanty town. Is there anything that he's trying to do, or is he just trying to lead Sir Gerhardt to go find the others?
Right now, trying to lead Sir Gerhardt to find the others.
Great. So as you enter into the shanty town, we're going to cut away from this scene again and move back to a rocky shore far away. Averin, you feel a tap, tap, tap on your shoulder, and you look up. At first, you just see a silhouette, and then you see Leerly wearing the dress. It's untattered, unmuddy. Her face, though, is pale and green and sickly looking, just like the last time you saw her. Though her hair is nice, it's been tended to and tied back in a nice braid. And she's smiling down at you when she says, I know this is strange, but would you care to dance?
Often remembering the time a few years ago now and a dance, and thinking this is just a dream. She'll stand up and take her hand.
And just like a couple of years ago at a ball where you were both on a mission, she brings you in and she leads. Leerly was trained to dance, and she's a very graceful dancer. You can almost, somewhere against the crashing of the waves, hear that music that you heard then, those years ago, when you lost so much on that night. But she smiles, and it's earnest. And she looks away, and as you spin and she spins, each time there's a brief moment where you see the crashing green fire of the distant maelstrom, and then it's gone. Leerly says after a few moments, I hope you'll be able to forgive me.
For what?
Trying to kill you on that rooftop?
Well, I was the one that did it first.
Yes, you were. But you were just doing as you were told. I wasn't supposed to do that. I've not been the same, Averin, since what happened to me. They healed my body, but sometimes my mind, it goes to dark places. Do you know what that feels like?
not sure. But I think I might. We always were just two sides of the same coin.
Sisters, do you think we can be that again, even after everything that's happened?
The only reason I try is because it's you.
She continues to spin you, and you hear somewhere beneath the waves that music continues to turn. You know, it's not easy for me to forgive you. I get so mad. Do you know why I haven't done what I did before? Do you know what calms me down in those moments?
What is it?
It's Father. He calms me down. He reminds me that both of us, two sides of the same coin, like you said, have gone through a lot of pain. That we're stronger together. That the three of us are strongest together.
I don't know if I can forgive Father.
No. You have to. You have to, Avrin.
Forgive him for everything? For not even mourning Kiernan's death and Hawthorne's disappearance? For telling me to kill you? Am I supposed to forgive him for that?
You have to trust in his greater plan. Everything we have, we owe to him.
Greater plans that he hid away from us all this time. He only tells us the truth when it benefits him.
She stops. She stops dancing with you, though the waves continue to crash, though you can hear the distant fire of the maelstrom across the sea. And she releases you from her grip, takes a small step away, and she kind of looks you up and down, and she says, after a moment, I didn't say it would be easy. I didn't say it's easy for me. I'm just asking you to try, and I'll try too, to forgive him and to forgive you.
Only because it's you.
You feel a tap, tap, tap on your shoulder.
I turn and look.
It's Kieran. One of your friends, one of your closest comrades. Man, you also, an elf, you also saw that same night that you danced with Leerily. He doesn't speak, but he does offer you a hand.
Avrin swallows hard and takes it.
And as you take his hand, he pulls you in close. You can feel his chest against your chest. You can feel it hit the bottom of his jaw against the side of your temple. And he begins to dance. Slowly, a little more awkwardly, a little less gracefully, but not ungraceful. He doesn't speak, though. He just moves. Same rhythm of the waves.
There's a long moment of that silence before Avern looks up a bit at him and I'm sorry.
He pulls back in the dance just enough to look down at you. Smiles. Doesn't say anything, but he does nod his head.
And she looks away because it's painful to look at him. A reminder of failures and of loss.
The dance stops. You find yourself looking beyond him into the storm in the distance, the maelstrom. It's rhythmic, hypnotic, green, flashing lightning. And between the crashes of thunder over the sea, you hear Kieran whisper to you a single word. Love.
I know. I'm sorry.
The grip of his hands loosen a little bit from your waist, from where the other holds your hand. He's just a little further away from you now.
For a moment, her hand goes to her pocket. Feel that shard of bow. And she pulls it out. You're always with me, kindred spirit. One who walks both sides.
You can't feel any breath coming from him now. You don't feel the rise of his chest against your chest. His body sways a little bit in the breeze along the shore. You feel a tap, tap, tap on your shoulder.
Take a deep breath in and turn.
It's Hawthorne. He's smiling sadly at you. He says, "Don't look. You don't have to look at him. You remember what happened? What that monster did? Here. Dance with me. And he offers you his hand.
And she takes it. Like she always wished she had the courage to before, but she never did.
He sweeps you up, turns you into him, and smiles at you. It's sad, but it's charming, and when he moves, it's with a grace that shines greater than Learly's or Kieran's. He was born to dance. And the music continues to swell, but he takes 2 steps for every one. It never feels forced. It never feels too quickened. But the beach and the lightning and the wind swirl around you, and he smiles at you, all the meanwhile. And after a moment, not stopping in his dance, he says, if you could have changed anything, if you could have made anything different, what would you have done? Oh no. The lightning of the distant maelstrom crashes, but the dancing continues. Hawthorne, as he's moving, sweeping you around in great circles, stepping easily over stone, moving twice as fast as even Learily, but without making it seem forced, smiles sadly down at you, and he asks you, Oberyn, if you could have changed anything, if you could have made anything different, what would you have done?
So I lost that last 5 seconds because my internet is being a butt.
He asks you, Hawthorne asks you, What would you have changed if you could have gone back and done something differently?
As she looks back up to him, she just smiles sadly back. Oh my god. Okay. I couldn't tell. Everything froze on my end.
All right. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's all you need to hear.
Yeah.
He stops when he sees you smiling sadly. He turns you towards the maelstrom, towards the green fire. He says, "It's okay. It's okay. You can look. I know what I would have changed. I would have told you how I feel. I wouldn't have let a day go by, keeping that locked up inside me. I never knew that we were going to be taken from each other, and I'm sorry that we were. But if you trust me, I'll show you love that no one else in this world could, that no one else could possibly understand."
And she will, not a verbal answer, but she'll reach up, bring him down, and kiss him.
And the salt water sprays into your face, though you don't get wet. And he dips you as the music of the waves crashes all around you. And as you embrace the two of you, he pulls away just a little, just enough to whisper into your cheek, "Won't have to be afraid of it. It's just a storm, Avrin. And all storms end." And then he embraces you again. We're going to cut away from this scene. Sir Riordan, you call out for Avrin and step into a small ramshackle hut, a single room home long abandoned to the elements and to squatters. You can see empty bottles of rot gut whiskey littering the floor, surrounding several nests created by dirty clothes, rags, and hay held together by mud and rain. Purple light sprays through pinpoints in the crumbling thatched ceiling above you. And standing there in the center of the room is Avrin, held in the arms of a tall, well-dressed man, the man you saw her enter with. Now, Avrin's hood has fallen away from the back of her head. It's exposed her long, elvish ears. Her mouth is open, just slightly agape. Her lips are pale and a little blue. Her back is arched as the figure holds her in an almost romantic, dipped position. And as you step into the room and call out her name, Sir Riordan, Avrin's dim, lifeless eyes stare back at you.
Absolution appears in Riordan's hand as he points it blade first at this man. "Let her go."
The man holding Avrin's in his arms, his chest is exposed by what's basically a long V-neck tunic. It's expensive purple. And from where it's exposed, you watch as he takes a finger and cuts himself across the skin. Rose red blood begins to spill down from the wound. And as it does, he places his hand gently beneath Avrin's head and begins to pull her head up, pressing her lips to that open wound.
Honoria! And he runs forward and kicks this guy with everything he has to clear him away from Avrin.
Roll me a dexterity saving throw.
I get advantage on the natural 20.
As you spring forward, there's a splash of what at first seems like a puddle, but it explodes upward and begins to shape around you in a lasso, almost a loop. You press forward through it before it solidifies entirely. It almost trips you, but you manage to get forward. And the man, as you're coming at him, holds up his hand. And he says, "Wait, you, the knight, and the wizard, stop."
If given enough time to say anything, Riordan would simply say, "You're not giving the orders here," as he kicks this guy in the face.
Do it.
All right, what do you need me to roll, man? I don't have my
Uh,
face kicking
make
stuff.
me a melee attack, just a simple melee attack.
Okay. I'll rock an absolution and then we'll just do damage after that. How's that sound?
Absolutely.
11.
You come forward and that ooze comes up behind you. You thought you'd escaped it, but it trips you, pulling around your ankle just enough that it throws you off, and you go crashing into a barrel. You're able to steady yourself. The man who's holding Avrin there, her face buried in his chest, he doesn't shift. "Wait, she said you were friends."
We are.
He starts to smile.
Who are you?
"I'm a friend too."
You do not act as a friend. Can I make some sort of check to deduce that he probably should have felt more pain from cutting himself open? I don't want to outright be like, I know he's a vampire, because
insight
that's
check.
player knowledge. But
Right? Make an
Yeah.
insight check.
it's a 13.
Yeah, there's something not right about it, about any of this. He takes his hat. It's a brimmed hat, top hat, and he takes it off, and tucks it under his chest, even as he's holding Avrin there. And he smiles at you. You can see Avrin's blood on his teeth.
Release her. I will say it once.
"Very well. She's had enough." And he takes her gently in his arms. He kneels down and lays her on a straw cot and then starts to slowly rise.
I grab my pendant in my hands and I twirl it a few times. Creature. What are you doing with her? What magic is this?
Averin and I are old friends. I'm saving her life. Rokon,
Riordan is going to
You would have
pick
seen
up
them.
Avrin. Yeah.
well,
Riordan is
Go
going
ahead.
to pick up Avrin.
he steps in front of you in Averin. "No, she's not for you. She
She's
needs
not
a
for
rest.
you either. And she is for us. She's
She
bound
chose
to
me.
us. Then you shall die.
No. I do not want to hurt you. I thought we could all be friends together.
Then explain to me what you have done to her.
I've saved her life. I've given her the gift of eternal life. I've made her so that she can withstand this land. What have you given her? Dragged her here? Nearly got her killed?
You think that I have the power to do this?
No.
You have cursed her, given her a disease that has no cure. Only time is eternal. What you are can be made undone.
I've heard enough. Turn her loose and listen to the wizard.
I let my staff drop to the ground so that my hands are free.
You can see too now there he has a rapier sheathed at his side. He doesn't reach for it. You can see the bulk of where he probably has some sort of dagger, maybe a parrying dagger, maybe some other kind of dirk sheathed on the opposite side. He doesn't reach for that. I
How
don't
many,
want to fight you.
how many
Then
moons
turn
do
her
you
loose.
see at night?
What?
How many moons do you see at night? And how long have you been here? If you call yourself friend, there's only one answer.
This moon has three moons in Nightland. And before I came here, it had been a long time before I saw any moons. Where I'm from, there's only the storm. I've not been here long, just as you've not been here long, and I promise you, if you will set aside your need to control the situation, and he looks hard at the night with that we can all be friends. And it's at this point that Rookone, having seen them enter the building, would be able to approach and enter the hut as well.
Oh, hey,
salute.
hey guys! I found somebody. I just want to ask them what is
Hey.
going on here.
I
Don,
smile despite myself in the situation.
Don, do we remember coming into Harthalen and seeing the carts and the bodies?
Yes.
And they had murders that they could not account for, correct?
The night before, there were many deaths in town. People were attributing it to the plague. Bodies were being taken out, some buried, some burnt.
Tell me, benevolent friend, do you know anything about this town's population suddenly dying in the middle of the night? Were you taking a late dinner?
No. And then he sees Rookone, and there's a flash of recognition in his eyes. Rookone, you are looking into the face of Hawthorne Moonpetal, a man you met once in the Blood Sea on a desert island. A man who promised to give you great riches and then vanished.
I know you.
I know you.
You were a deceiver.
I'm not. I'm just trying to do the right thing here. And Sir Knight, Those weren't deaths. Those were gifts. Those were people who would have died and now will live on.
Oh, so you're a god. I apologize. I didn't realize I was in the presence of a deity. Rokon, do you trust this thing?
I have no reason to, but I also brought someone I feel like I should introduce. This is Sir Gerhardt. He has some questions for us. Is Avrin okay?
Gerhardt is standing behind you at the entrance to the hut, and his eyes are wide. He's looking at this man who's got blood on his face, blood on his lips, who's just admitted to multiple murders, looking down at the girl, Avrin, where she lay. And he's frozen for a moment.
I'm gonna inspect Avrin's body?
Stop. Rokon, no. She has to rest. Now listen, I've been very patient with all of you. I think it's time for you to go.
Sir Knight.
Yes.
I require some new spell components. And I start casting.
Yeah, he read that. Yeah, he just pulls back Absolution and goes in for like a bat swing.
All right, everyone, in that case, roll me some initiative. Anybody who is moving.
I'm going to take advantage on this. I don't know how many I have, but I'm taking one.
Okay. So you spent 2 advantage. Or no, that's just 1.
Okay, 15.
And who got that 26? Oh, that was Honoria. Perfect.
Through time. Korak Linker.
And Rokon got a 5.
Sure did.
All right, Honoria, he doesn't move initially. He doesn't even seem to react when you start speaking words. You will go first.
I touch the diamond Dremel that is hidden on the back of Honoria's neck for the required spell component to reach in to the weave and pull it into a surrounding ball, saying the arcane words Korak Lingram, and putting a bit of her own inner fire in it to turn it into that, just fire. And because he is so very close to her, she tries to just push this thing pretty much into his chest.
All right.
It's a 15 hit.
15 does not hit. So as you press forward, he takes a simple step back and he kind of brushes it aside. And there's a singe to that exquisite purple tunic, but beyond that, it doesn't touch his flesh.
My eyes still sparkle with a moment of the flame, and I will step aside because I've got companions.
He sees Sir Riordan moving form as well. And he takes in a deep breath. He draws his scimitar in one hand and a dagger in the other hand, and with 2 flourishing spins of his wrist, he moves forward. First, he slashes wide at Honoria, who's just attacked and stepped aside. And because he sidestepped, using his reaction, he'll have advantage on this attack against you. That's something he has. All right, so that's going to be a 25 to hit. That will be a hit. So with sneak attack damage, so with this first swing, Honoria, he slashes at you with his rapier. It goes wide across, aimed at your face. And it's 14 piercing damage and 21 sneak attack damage.
I am not down.
She's within 5. We're
5
locked
feet
in.
of you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna do a sentinel attack when he comes in.
14 plus how much? 21?
21 for the sneak attack.
I am down on the ground, but not down.
Okay.
That's a natural 20, Don.
That's a hit.
Get some! I am going to use 3 inspiration so I can max damage this. And just a reminder, Don, absolution is silvered. Just in case we
No,
failed
absolutely.
to...
Oh, shit!
I recall.
Yes, buddy!
I
Okay.
recall. So what's your max damage there?
Okay, I'm
And
going to
just
throw
describe it.
in... Yes, I'm going to throw in also a superiority die. It's not going to do anything more than what it does. So, let's see. And 48. So with 52 points of damage, as he spins in, he takes the blade down, rips it across the same arm that he used to strike Honoria with the scimitar, and brings it up like a cheese grater up the arm, driving it with his left hand until he is locked directly in front of Hawthorne. Brings the blade up and almost like an uppercut, takes it underneath his jaw and continues the scrape as he tries to just cleave him all the way up.
You feel his flesh, the front of his flesh flayed. His pants, his tunic are cut away from his body and go flapping out like a flag. They fly off to the side. You scrape upward, tearing open his chin all the way up to his jawline. Roll me an intelligence saving throw. That's the end of your reaction, right?
That is the end of my reaction, correct.
Cool. Yeah, roll me an intelligence saving throw.
14.
He looks back down to you, half of his flesh of his face hanging off of the bone. And as he does, his eyes lock with your eyes, and you can see now not a normal man's eyes, but the flashing green fire of the maelstrom. The abyss is in his eyes, and for a moment, it's within you. You can feel it's almost like your breath is being drawn out of your mouth, but it's something else. It's something inside your mind is being drawn out of your mind. You lose 3 intelligence.
Is this madness?
This is not. This is him feeding off of your mind.
Okay.
So this is not a permanent effect, but it is it will last until you take a long rest. 3 intelligence is what you lose, and he has 2 attacks left in his multi-attack. They're both gonna be for you, Sir Riordan.
Let's do it.
13 and a 24.
13, no. 24, sure.
All right, so that's going to be 14 piercing damage.
There goes my plot armor. Thank you, Legion.
And as you feel something being taken from you, you can feel the sharpness of your mind, some of the keenness being rounded away at the edges. You see that flesh that's hanging from his chin begin to meld back into his neck, and he begins to regenerate. That's the end of his turn. Sir Riordan, you're next.
So as Riordan steps back and feels everything being pulled from him, he will shout a warning to Honoria. Mind! And then he looks back up at the creature in front of him. My turn. And he is going to launch an attack. And I am going to use a superiority die. So that's a 19 to hit.
That does hit.
Okay, so with the 19 for absolution, let's see, do I get to reroll? I'm so flustered, I don't know what I can do anymore.
No, not on this one. You rerolls ones, right?
You can reroll a 1 or a 2 on damage rolls with my melee
Oh, you
weapon
got a
wielded
2.
with 2 hands. Yeah.
Yep.
So I get it again. So it's 12 slashing. He launches his second attack. 21.
That will be a hit.
Some damage. 11, nothing on there, so we're up to 23. I, of course, am going to action surge, and I am going to start it all again. 24.
That's a hit.
That's another 11. 23. There's 32. I know. Yes. No. Maybe so. 33. 34. Jesus. So nervous. And last attack. And I'm going to throw one more. No. It's the risk is too great. So
describe your 4 swings at him.
So the last thing that can be taken from Sir Reardon as far as his mind, it's 2 things. His sword and Lorana. And those are both in his mind as he attacks. He brings the sword down against one shoulder, then the other, batting this creature back. And as he again brings it up, this time in a feint of the great move that he used before, he takes and flips it using the catch that he has on his left thumb and brings it down along the side of Hawthorne's head, hoping to cut and shear off an ear and follow through to the neck, but the final cut falls clean as he misses.
You do take off most of an ear and you cleave through his face, and even as he heals, more and more of him, his flesh is gathering in a pile at his feet. The last of your swings, though, he crosses his rapier and his dagger. He spins the dagger and tosses your blade aside, and he takes a step back as his reaction.
Okay, so it's the end of my round, so I have hit him with a sentinel attack, so his movement's 0 until the end of my turn. So he's gonna go back anyway?
Oh, I know. It's not like a full 5 feet. It's just him shifting.
Oh, okay. So no opportunity attack or anything. Okay, just checking. And then he's going to take a defensive stance as he hopes his battle bro is approaching with great violence.
Yes, so Rookone, it is your turn.
Seeing the carnage that has just ensued, he was kneeling down at Avrin, trying to investigate for a sign of consciousness or life. But some blood hits him in the face, and he kind of senses and feels that metallic taste, and his hairs around his neck perk up, and he inhales with vigor, and the blood vessels in the corner of his eyes burst, and his eyes turn red, and he shoves himself up using a bonus action to rage off of the ground, and uses his action to charge.
Roll me a dexterity saving throw.
15.
You charge, and as you do, that slime again rises up off the ground. It begins to wrap around you, but you're able to fight through it. But now it's crashing into the ground like a wave, and it's beginning to take more of a shape, and you can almost see somewhere inside of this blue liquid that's somewhere between liquid and solid, the face of something that looks human, a skull, something, but its eyes are burning. It's coming behind you as you charge. You're able to charge.
Okay, so I'm going to hit him with horns first.
All right, go for it.
$23.
Do you have advantage?
I meant to say a reckless attack. I was going to use reckless attack.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. I'll let you do it.
All right.
That's a hit. All right. So that's 19 total.
Yeah, 19 total. And then hand, and then I have another attack, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I have shield up and I have free hand, and I want to take my free hand and do a disarming attack, and which is attack roll versus his athletics check on his sword hand to disarm his sword.
You are able to disarm his. With a natural 1, you don't even have to bother rolling. You're able to disarm. How do you disarm his rapier?
So after thrusting into him with my skull, he reels back, and as his arm, I punch his wrist, and his arm goes limp, and the sword falls to the ground. And then let's see here. I want to hammering horns as a reaction to knock him prone.
All right. It's probably going to work. That's a 7 on his end.
Okay.
Or no, it's a 9 actually.
All right. Well, it's a DC 8 plus my proficiency plus strength modifier, so he does not.
So you knock him to the ground, and then what's the last? Are you doing anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to use a free action to grapple.
All right.
It's contested athletics, which I have advantage on. 29.
All right. And
So-
then is there anything else?
So, with the hammering horns, after I shove him down to the ground, before he hits the ground and he's reaching up, I grab his wrist and tug him at my feet. And then,
All right.
and then bend down to his face.
Is that the end of your turn?
Yep.
Okay. So you charge in, and this ooze comes up behind you, and you smash into him with your horns. You slap his rapier out of your hand. You knock him to the ground with your horns, and then you lock him, and you keep him low and beneath your weight. You can feel he's strong, but he's struggling against you. For a moment, as your eyes meet, you see a flash of fire in his eyes. He doesn't seem to be intimidated by you, at least not in this moment. But you have him knocked prone and grappled, correct?
Correct. So
All right.
he's stuck there.
Sir Gerhardt is looking into the room, and he's half drawn his sword, looking around at all of you. And he turns away from the hut and steps out, and you can hear him yelling, "Guards, guards, to me, to me." You can see that he's still out there, but he's on the outside of the hut at the moment. That's his turn. We're back up to Honoria.
I am going to look over to Sir Reardon and Rookone quickly and just put my hand out to my knight and say, "For Paladine." And from him will emanate a soft light, as I am using the bonus action to give him Honoria's help in the flavor of one of my cantrips. And I will then get up, picking up my staff on the way, breathe a few times deeply, and cast Mirror Image, pulling out more essences of myself as I feel blood running through my robes and my body. Menselet Kaliahan. And breathe, fearful of all the pain that I am feeling, as my number one thing that I'm afraid of in life is dying, and I rely on my friends to keep me away from this non-magical foe that I cannot deal with. And I will take a step back, my image is moving with me.
At the end of your turn, Hawthorne, grappled and held down by you, Rookone, is going to attempt to throw you off, but not entirely. He's not trying to break the grapple. He just moves just enough. He drops his dagger, the only weapon he still has left in his hand, and you feel something appear. As you look down, you see, and all of you will see, a brilliant white warhammer appear in his two hands. It's got an ivory hilt with an emerald gem that has several cracks in it. Its head is also white, but metal, some sort of steel. It glints a little bit, even with the dim light here. It has its own shine. And though he's restrained and though he has disadvantage, I have some advantages of my own that I've been saving up. And let's see. First, he is going to attack Rook Own. And I'm going to spend an advantage, one of my inspirations, to negate your disadvantage against him. All right, so that's going to be a 14.
That misses.
All right, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to spend another inspiration. That's going to be a 27.
That also misses. I'm just kidding. That hits.
That's good. That's good. And one more time, one more inspiration. That one's going to be a 20.
That hits.
All right. And I'm going to spend 3 of my inspiration to max the damage of one of those 2 blows. So, because I can do that too. So, Rookon, this is going to be 16 bludgeon damage and 7 radiant damage for the first hit. And 30 bludgeon damage and 14 radiant damage for the second hit. So that's 46 bludgeon damage and 21 radiant damage.
That's
Wait, radiant damage from a spell?
No, from his weapon.
68. I think that's 68 total, right?
Yeah.
Halved because bear.
The bludgeon damage is halved, right?
Totem and
the radiant damage too. Yep, because
Yeah.
your bear totem. Yep, halved. So that's what, 34? Yeah, cool. So as basically how this works is he's pushing you up away from him. He jams the warhammer up into your chin. The second time he tries it, you're able to kind of wedge it away, and then he spins around. Even though you've got him down beneath your weight, he spins around, and again, he crashes, this time smashing the head of the warhammer into your knee, and I need you to make me an intelligence saving throw.
Well, it takes me a lot of athleticism to be intelligent.
It does.
Nah, 9.
You can feel something being drawn out of you. You remember, it's like when a flash of lightning happens in front of your eyes and you can see that lightning afterwards, like it's permanently embeds itself in your vision. You can see the green fire that you saw in his eyes now. And as you do, you can feel something. Maybe it's your animal impulses, but whatever it is, you're losing part of you that makes yourself able to critically think. It's being pulled away from you. He's taking something from you. That's all you know. And as he does, he continues to regenerate a little bit. You lose 6 intelligence.
And that's not a spell either, right?
That's just how he gets down.
Oh, wow.
That is his turn. That brings us back to Sir Riordan. And as he finishes his turn as a free action, he'll say, "Let me go. It doesn't have to come to this, but I will end you all."
Well, maybe if you would have left me with some intelligence, I'd have been able to reason properly.
Sir Riordan, it's your turn.
It does seem like a flaw in your battle logic. I too am struck dumb enough to continue the attack, and I would assume that I have advantage on this, correct? Since
Yeah, he's prone right now.
He's still restrained, right? He's still grappled. Yeah.
That's true, yeah. He didn't break your grapple.
18.
An 18 will hit.
You roll this one. Oh, it's a 6. That's 14, and my second attack with advantage. It'll be a 20.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll re-roll that one as well. 3, so it'll be 3, 8, 12, and 14, 27.
All right.
He's just hacking at him now, trying to get him off his friend.
And he continues to bleed. He looks terrible. He doesn't look like he should be alive. You can see his bone through parts of his shoulder, his face, his chin. He was an attractive man, but not anymore. But he's still moving. He's still struggling against Rookone, who has him down on the ground, locked down.
He's going for the eyes too, by the way. I'm going straight for headshot, straight for those soul-sucking eyes.
All right. You didn't get the eyes this turn, but you got the cheek around it. I'll let you do a cold shot next turn if you want.
I will.
Okay. Is that the end of your turn?
Yeah. That's it for right now. He's just going to keep himself maneuvered between Honoria. I know that Rookone's on top of him, but, he's just staying locked with him.
Averin, your eyes open. You see Rookone there holding down Hawthorne. Hawthorne's gaze goes to you. There's something wide there, something, you're not sure if it's scared or sad or angry. You can see Sir Riordan and Honoria, all of them locked in battle, and it looks to you at a glance, it would look to you like they are butchering Hawthorne.
Stop!
And then I'm gonna rear myself up, and unless something happens, I'm going to smash my face into his face.
It is Averin's turn first, if you want to take any actions.
I am going to, for a second after I close my mouth from shouting, just feel a little something there. But I am going to roll or move myself as fast as I can between Hawthorne and Rookone.
Are you trying to break the grapple?
Either, I think she just wants to be in the way.
How does Rookone respond?
Much like if you can imagine, after a boar decides to make its charge, someone stepping in the way of said boar, it's not going to face him at all, and he's going to shove his head through Averin to
Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make an attack roll against Averin then.
All right, with horns. That's 15.
A 15 does hit.
And then I would like to use the hammering horns to shove her out of the way.
All right, so that's a contested athletics versus her choice of acrobatics or athletics.
Yeah, let me bring it up in here. It's actually, she's got to make a strength saving throw, DC 15.
Cool.
All right, I'm using inspiration.
Oh, that is enough. So, so as he tries to slam the horns into you, how much damage does she take, by the way?
She takes.
Not the sneak attack.
Yeah, sorry, 11.
11.
13 with rage. Sorry.
Okay. She does, but it doesn't knock you down, Avern. You're still able to stand there.
And then I bring my head up, and there's slobber, drool coming off of my face. My eyes are wild, and I use my my extra attack to do the same with horns.
All right. Go for it.
20.
It's a hit. What's the damage there? 11?
11, yeah. Sorry, forgot to turn off sneak attack.
All
Yep.
right. Avern has some plot armor too. So is she still looking okay at this moment?
Oh, yeah.
So describe how she reacts to this.
For a second, she thinks maybe she can get through to her friend. But seeing the rage in his eyes, being on the other end of it, she just presses her back up against Hawthorne in a protective motion and just brings up her arms. And maybe it's just sheer determination that gets her through, or something else.
You can feel Hawthorne's back press up against your back as well. You can hear him raggedly trying to say something. As his throat regenerates, he's able to whisper out, "Help me." That's the end of Rookon's turn. At the end of your turn, Rookon, I need everyone to make me a perception check.
$16.
12.
Rookon and Avern won't notice this being so close to the core of the action right now, but both Sir Riordan and Honoria, you will notice this. You happen to hear something from outside, and as you look, you see Sir Gerhardt waving his arms like this, and then you see something like a blur, and you see him pulled away from your field of vision, and you hear what sounds like some kind of shout, some kind of call, and it's cut short.
Are we in combat or out of combat now?
We're in combat. It's Honoria's turn.
I am going to look to Kiena and to my companions and think of the guards and realize that I need more time. I'm going to look up to the skies and listen for just a moment and let that cool calmness of combat just fade in the chaos of everything that's happening around us. And gently move my hands, my eyes flashing gold in an instant. Saya Baru Ahan. And I'm going to focus on the area in where we are and figure out what is the best possible outcome to get us all out of here. The guards are coming. Is there something I could say to my companions that would ring true? Or should I just simply try and get us all to flee? Because I can't say, get your shit together to someone who's at a 2 intelligence, a dying vampire, and a knight who sees an undead creature before him while he still has the hate of Soth in his heart.
You open your eyes to the possibilities of time. You see a flash of the next 6 seconds and how it could go 1,000, 100,000 different possible outcomes. And many of them, Rook-Own is killed right in front of your eyes. You see his body drain, become emaciated. You see a thin blue liquid escape from his nostrils and begin to take a life form of its own. You see other futures where Sir Riordan dies, torn apart by things coming in through the front door. You only see one outcome where you are able to protect them. And even then, it's not a certainty, because sometimes the future's never certain. Can you convince them that you've already lost?
I will, as I have my eyes roll forward once again, use my help action, but slightly more underneath my breath. And I will use my help action for Hawthorne and give him this emanating necromantic pulsing energy. And as I bend down to the bloodied ground, which I'm hoping is some of his blood and not mine, I say, "The battle is over. Flee!" And I prepare to run.
You running out the front door?
Can we make a new exit? I say, particularly to my large, powerful Rook-Own, and hope that my words will get through to him, because this is a hut, right?
Yeah, it's a ramshackle hut. It's barely standing. It's the only building in this block that's standing at all.
That's, I'm assuming, all I can do in 6 seconds. The battle is lost. Make a new exit. And I prepare to either run forward or get myself out of here.
All right. Hawthorne's turn, and both with the advantage given to him by Honoria, he's going to attempt to break free of the grapple that Rook-Own has on him. And he still has disadvantage because he is still technically prone. So this cancels out his advantage. So this is a contested roll.
Yep.
He's unable to break the grapple unless Rook-Own chooses to let him go.
I think with an intelligence of 2, the amount of languages I can understand or hear will be extremely limited.
Roll me an intelligence saving throw.
You know what? I'm gonna burn an advantage on this. Okay, because it's a -4.
You lose 1 intelligence, and Hawthorne, though you're able to continue to hold on to him, Rook-Own, he's continuing to regenerate. Most of what's been torn away from him is healed now. It's charred, it's scarred, it looks scabbed, almost scaly, but his skin is regenerating. But because I rolled a 1 and not a 2, I believe Rook-Own is still alive, correct?
Correct.
Hawthorne, as he heals, his face a little more like it used to be. He looks, as he's struggling, can't escape from Rook-Own. He looks to Averin and he says, "Please make them stop. I love you. Right? They don't understand. They don't understand us. They don't understand what's happening here. Make it stop." That's the end of his turn. Sir Riordan.
Sir Riordan walks forward, slides absolution into the scabbard at his back, takes his friend, and if he can, he will lift him up And not to be almost as a parent would a child, you know, maybe grabbing by the back of the neck or even the ear as it's just a direction. Riordan's felt a little of this. He knows his friend has just felt it much worse. And he takes him and he looks down at Avrin and he says, "You've made your choice, Lady Avrin. I have another sunset before I head north. I wish you damnation." And he walks off.
Rookon let himself be pulled off, and will he let himself be guided by Sir Riordan? Does he trust Sir Riordan?
There's something there. It's trust. The way he grabs the fur in the back, it's kind of like suddenly like an obedient dog. And he pries himself off of Hawthorne using his knuckles, pushes off the knuckles, puts most of his weight on his upper body, and smells the air. What are the walls made out of?
It's a mixture of like wood and hay. Basically a wooden frame with like hay, mud, clay holding it together.
I look up at Riordan and I look at what direction he's looking in. Which direction? Yeah.
He would look at Honoria. "You have a preference?"
Shake my head.
He
Well,
looks
all three of my heads, rather.
He looks towards the rear of the building, you know, presumably beneath a window. So if it, you know, or an opening or some type of something that you can see the light through, so he doesn't send him into a rock or something. And he just points, "There, brother. Go there."
He looks up and points at the wizard, and then points on his back.
I totally jump on the back of the fight. Yes, I've always wanted to do this.
So one of my back feet like purses the ground, and I start lumbering forward and use my dash action to go into the corner and hammering horns charge into where Riordan was pointing.
And before you are able to run off, Avrin, you do have a chance here. Do you let them go? Do you say anything? Do you do anything?
So as Riordan says those words and starts to turn away, please. Why do I have to choose between two things?
You don't have to choose, because you've already made your choice.
I had no choice.
Goodbye, Lady Averin.
Goodbye, Sir Riordan.
He will bow.
And then I charge at the wall.
Dawn's muted.
Does Sir Riordan follow out behind?
Yes, and he does not look at Averin again.
I
Averin,
do look over my shoulders, and I try to lock eyes with you, but my face is placid. I think I'll see you again.
Averin is Rookon charges through this wood and thatch hut, breaking a hole out the back. Honoria on his back, Sir Riordan marching out after him. You feel Hawthorne, already almost entirely regenerated, though most of his clothes are shredded, standing up. He's leaning on you just a little bit, if you'll allow it, but not too much weight, just to get himself standing up. Or maybe because he doesn't want to be apart from you. He watches them go too, and he bends down and he whispers into your ear, "Don't worry, my love. We'll make them understand. We'll win them over yet. I'm not giving up on them."
And she'll lean her head into his chest, and for a moment she expects a heartbeat. There is none. I didn't have a choice. I don't have one now.
I know it hurts. I didn't really have a choice either. But I swear to you now, as long as we're together, I won't take away your choice again. We'll be free, you and I, and we'll make this world a better place, one way or another. Together.
I know. And she'll reach up again and bring him in for a soft kiss on healing lips.
He lets you lead this time.
And as they part for a moment, I never thought I'd be able to say it. But I love you.
He doesn't say anything else. He just holds on to you. His face is almost perfect again. We'll move outside of the hut to the three companions, leaving the destruction behind. And as you step out into the shanty town, you can hear cries going up all around you. The purple light of twilight is gone. Night has fallen, and there are screams in the air. And that is where we will end tonight's episode. So yay. It's good to be back.
Remember that tweet I made earlier, Dawn, about how it's been sunshine and roses thus far? Yeah.
I feel pretty sunshiny. I do. I feel like this had some, it's ups and downs, but love was found, and I think that's important to make note of. But we'll go around. Let's hear from everybody. No, let's just start with Tia. Tia,
I was going to say, Tia, it's like a Fleetwood Mac. It's like a Fleetwood Mac song tonight. It's just, sadness and.
I got to ride the back of a Minotaur. I know that was the end of the episode, but I'm not gonna lie. That's something I've been semi-thinking would never happen. There's certain things in D&D you just don't ever picture doing except for an emergency situation, like putting a bag of holding inside of another bag of holding, riding the back of a crazy Minotaur. I'm praying that Rook Own doesn't necessarily recall these things as he gets his intelligence back, and I'm also grateful that he gets his intelligence back. Kiana, your IRL sleight of hand on the vampire fangs was probably one of the coolest things I've seen to date in a live show, and that's going to stick with me for the rest of my days. Chat, you guys were insane tonight. I love you all so much. To the polls, and thank you for the support. And as Kiana found out as well, I am back to neutral evil, which I tried to roleplay in a lot of my decision making tonight. So instead of just going with the flow, that is the reason why I said I want spell components, why I was playing both sides. And at the end, when Kiana woke up, to give the advantage both to our undead companions and to our living ones. So I hope that a little bit more of her sanity, as that's how I've been playing chaotic evil, is her losing her sanity, is coming through with the chronomancy, for lack of a better term. And yeah, today's story, it's so good to be back. 2 weeks is too long to go without Dragonlance. You can find me on Roleplayers TV, not Laura Lania. Ignore that information down below. That is old. Roleplayers is me right here. And I do a whole bunch of stuff. And if we want to learn more about it, just follow me on Twitter. I tweet all the time. That's me.
Awesome. And I did notice the alignment change, which I love. That's kind of it's really fun to see how the alignment shifts work. And we had the opportunity to change some alignments because of, as Kiana puts it, time fuckery. And I think it was a really interesting choice. And we saw a familiar but different Honoria, because I think Honoria 2 weeks ago would have handled some things very differently.
Oh, so differently. With the vampire, she'd have been like, make me a vampire too. That sounds great, you know? Instead, now it's how can I balance this situation?
So, okay. Well, let's go over to Rookone. Rookone, man, you came, that was the closest almost death that I think we've had besides the time that Kiana actually died in this game.
Yeah, dude, there were 5 other numbers that you could have rolled on that dice that would have killed me, and you rolled the one that didn't kill me.
That's why when Honoria, when Tia she cast the spell and she said, what is the possible future where everybody gets out of here okay? I honestly, I thought about it. I was like, I don't know. It doesn't look good to me, man. But you rolled a 1. You rolled a 1 and you made it for now.
I have a 1 intelligence. I don't even know creatures that have a 1 intelligence in the monster manual, right? Because animals have 2. So what has 1? That's the question. I don't know.
I think maybe a tired animal. Yeah.
I genuinely think that only something with a lobotomy, and that's not me trying to be facetious or anything or mean. That's just the only thing. 1 intelligence, sentient life.
But I thought you played it great. I thought you played it great throughout.
Well, I've got a penchant for beasts, so I was happy to be able to not think for. Well, I don't think most of my life, but I'm happy to not think in the game. And just act instinctively, which was awesome. Oh man, yeah, this was a fun one. I got to use some stuff I haven't used in a while, or at all yet. Grappling is so much fun in 5th edition. Yeah, you guys can find me at Bill of the Forest on Twitter. I tweet sometimes. And you guys, thanks to everyone who's watching out there, the VODs as well, not necessarily watching live. We appreciate everybody in chat. Legion is awesome, but also to all the people who don't necessarily have an immediate voice on the VODs, we greatly appreciate that as well. That's so cool that you're taking time to listen to us, and onward and upward.
Awesome. Yeah, I loved the combo you pulled on Hawthorne. That was super clutch because this wasn't a pushover fight. He could have shredded you guys' intelligence, and he also dealt a lot of damage. And by locking him down, you very well might have saved Honoria from going, because Honoria was shredded. It was a rough situation all around. So that was clutch, man. I was glad to see grappling come into play in this one.
Yeah.
And I loved all the stuff leading up to it for Rookone waking up. I just thought that was really great role play all around. I really enjoyed it. Let's go over to Kiana too, and say hello. Thank you for the vampire teeth. I didn't see those go in either. How are you doing?
This was a lot of feelings. A lot. Got to go into a lot of Avron's feelings, which we don't see a lot because she hides them pretty well. And yeah, she has a lot of regrets and a lot of sadness. And she saw her one hope at happiness with somebody that she thought she'd never see again. That plus, trying to be saved from turning into a Kender swarm vampire bullshit thing. She didn't have a choice. But it was a time. And Reardon's last words to Avron are gonna fuck me up for a while. Fuck you, Greg. Yes, thank you everyone who helped Avron find love, ? I have some mixed feelings about that. Especially, and I should say that Mal and I played Starcrossed with Avron and Hawthorne right before this game, which built up a whole bunch of their backstory and a lot of references I made today. So I'll write that up because that's fun. Until next week, where we figure out what happens to Avron next, I guess. You find me over on Twitter at KennaS, best way to figure out what I'm doing, because I'm over the internet playing role-playing games almost every day of the week. I am part of the team over here on Tales from the Grim. I come to a Discord. That's where we like to yell and hang out, especially after these types of sessions where we just need to decompress. So hang out with us there. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Yeah, so for myself, I'm also one of the team here at Tales from the Grim. I loved this episode. I loved being able to explore some of the things that changed. I don't know if you all caught the episode before this one, but it did involve time travel and it had repercussions. We've seen a few of those repercussions already. Some of the big ones I wanted to introduce right away because they were fun. In bringing Hawthorne back in the way that we did, it took a lot of thought and some planning and some help from Kiana too, which I appreciated a lot, and from Mal, who originated the role when he was on here as a player character. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It had a lot of different things going on. I'm really excited to see what happens next. We've only got 2 episodes left this season before we take a little break. So you know that they're going to be big ones as we kind of resolve the current storyline. I want to echo what Bill said for folks who are watching on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking our videos, subscribing, commenting. All of that means a lot. Let us know what you think. You can tweet at us, whatever. We have a really great chat. When we mention Legion, we're talking about the folks who are in our chat, who support our show, but are also just very enthusiastic and energetic. And they all love stories as much as we love stories. And that's really why we do this, is because we love telling stories. So they're great. If you ever get a chance to come in here on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m., they're fantastic folks to hang out with for a couple of hours, and very welcoming community. I'm going to send it over to Greg in a moment. I do want to mention something that's a change for the show. That's starting now. It'll also come into play more next season. Unfortunately for us, because of scheduling issues, we've lost Allison for the show currently, who is playing Sabria, which is I know, really, really sad thing for all of us here. We are going to be bringing in a new player the next season. It is going to be Charlie Frost from Fire. If you are on the Twitter, she's a fantastic person and a great role player. Really excited to get her involved, and sad simultaneously to say goodbye to Allison. But we will see her again, I'm sure, too. That's all I have. I'm going to send it over to Greg, and then we'll come back here for some dice rolling at the end.
Man, oh man, yeah, this was a trip and a half. It was so great. And to echo what Don said to our friends on the VODs and on YouTube, comment in the section below, and we will know, and you are part of the Legion henceforth. You are if you're watching anyway, but let the rest of the Legion know that is simply the name of all of us that are in this collaborative narrative. And we would desperately like to hear from you, especially on the YouTube. And we can, hit us up on Discord. The link's in the doobly-doo of the YouTube. And you can join us and talk whenever you want, not even when the show's running. But at any time, we have a very active, very welcoming, very inclusive community. And it would be very, very awesome for you to pop over and say, hey, I got here from YouTube. And some idiot wearing armor told me to come over, and that would be me, and everyone would know. But no, anyway, yeah, Grimjack21502 on the Twitter, part of the Tales from the Grim team here on the Twitch. I'm almost tempted to have Riordan voluntarily fail his corruption thing tonight, but I'm not going to because
because the warm and fuzzies thinking about it though, Greg.
I thought about it, but I when it all boils down to it, someone popped those teeth in their head, and that means I'm off the hook. I don't have to do anything, so I can cut on out if I need to. But anyway, we'll go back to Dawn, and hopefully you've had enough time to properly mess us up. Billy, your I have a one intelligent Minotaur face was haunting and one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. All right, that's it.
Yeah, so because of alignment shifts, this is the first time in a while where Honoria can actually gain corruption. So the first thing I want everyone to do is roll me a charisma saving throw for corruption. And let's see here. I have one of the polls.
Critical success.
So with a critical success, you haven't become corrupted yet, right? You haven't changed your alignment at all. So usually, if you have lost alignment and you get a critical success, you can gain your alignment back. You can go with, like, if you're chaotic evil, you could go back to chaotic neutral evil. That's not the case for you, but you do succeed. Kiana, Avrin succeeds, and I'll say this too, Avrin is the winner of The Light Still Shines, so she actually has protection from her next failure, which is interesting because she's also the winner of the Eye of Nutari, which is an automatic loss. So I think that's that duality is chat telling us that they don't know how to feel about Avrin anymore, and I honestly I don't know how to feel about her either. She made some decisions this episode. We're gonna go ahead and cancel those two out, and Honoria, you can roll me 1d8.
Oh boy! Can I use my Die Hard dice? And just tell you the roll? Okay. I will be honest, of course. So my Honoria dice in specific, I think is precious for this. I will keep my hands up and take a picture if anybody judges me. That is a 4 on the dice. 4 on the dice.
All right, so you gain 4 corruption. You are almost halfway back to where you were at the beginning of this episode. Congratulations on that. And Greg, what was your final call there? Did you decide to give me an automatic failure, or are you gonna let that dice roll?
Oh no, yeah, we're gonna stick with the 16.
All right, yeah. So you succeed on your saving throw. Sir Riordan remains perfect in terms of his corruption. That's everything. That's the episode. Everybody, thank you very much. Like I said, we're really excited to invite somebody new, introduce new characters. We have a couple of guest stars coming up. We'll have a guest star next week. Expect to hear about that on social media. All of those things are going to be awesome. And I also want to, at the very end here, before I give it back to Greg, say shout out, because I meant to say it last time and I forgot. I don't know if you checked them out, but Kiana did some awesome tarot cards for some of our characters. I don't know if you've seen them, but they are spot on. So we'll post those up again sometime in Discord. Go to our Discord and check those out because they tell a lot about our characters and they're really cool. That's all I got. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thanks so much, Don. And here's what we're going to do, Legion. Follow me over on the Twitter, Grimjack21502. And tomorrow morning, we are going to start a week-long poll Should I accept the corruption, or should I let my 16 stand? As you named absolution, my sword, so shall you damn or save the good knight. Because the episode is called Knightfall. So I'll leave it in your hands, Legion. And as we do that, and the campfire dies down, there's one thing left to say. You can't always roll nat 20s unless you're Rook-own, but you can always role play. We'll see you, friends.